Welcome. In this edition of Yojana, which is extremely important, we'll be covering on Indian knowledge systems. Now, Indian knowledge systems (IKS) or what is also known as KTPI, traditional knowledge, traditional practices of India. Now, both this topic has become extremely important in the upcoming scenario. You have nearly one paper in every of your undergraduate courses, and even highly important for your prelims purpose. So, let's understand what are the basics that we would be discussing here. To begin with, the historical perspective, the Indian knowledge is a vast ocean of knowledge which ranges from mathematics to sciences, where we talk about in sciences Charak, Shushruta. In mathematics, we talk about Aryabhat, Brahmagupta, and we also focus on how new education policy is now trying to integrate IKS into the educational curriculum to make it a holistic educational system. So in 2020, Ministry of Education decided that IKS should be a division under AICTE, and this should have various IKS centers across various institutions. Now, if we focus on some of our historical texts, for example, Vishnu Puran, it defines knowledge as liberation from suffering. Now, if we even talk about the Vishnu Upanishad, it talks about balancing Vidya and Avidya, that is knowledge and the material knowledge and the spiritual knowledge. The same has been done under the Mukund Upanishad, which talks about the Parvidya and the Apar Vidya, the higher and the lower education. The Charak Samhita, which talks about the medical science, Sushruta Samhita, which talks about the surgical science, focusing on procedures even like cataract operations. So, based on our tradition, we have been a huge ocean of knowledge. Our four Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and Atharva Veda, have been important, and then these come with the four Upvedas, the Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharva Veda, and Shilpa Veda. Both of them focus on Vidya or knowledge. Now, in the Puran, there have been various stories. One of the stories reflect the idea of Einstein's theory of relativity. Now, the story is very important, interesting. So, it talks about the Brahma Vaivarat Puran, where Revati and her father Kakumdi actually talks about and reaches Brahma in Brahmalok. Now, Brahma was engrossed in the Gandharva musical performance at that time, and Kakumdi had to wait. After the performance, Brahma actually met him and briefed him about the new age, which is the Dwapar Yuga that is about to begin, and he advised that Revati should marry Balram, who is the elder brother of Krishna. Now, returning onto the earth, Kakumdi actually found that this was a reality, and Revati married Balram. Now, this talks about how the theory of Einstein's relativity actually could be brought into relevance here. Similarly, there are stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata talking about the Ithihas Granth, which is the historical text, Jainism, Buddhism, and the traditions under Jainism and Buddhism. The Tirthankars under Jainism, the first Tirthankar, Rishabdev, had a son named Bharat, after whom the India's name India or Bharat has been named. Similarly, Neminath, who was the 22nd Tirthankar, is believed to be the cousin of Lord Krishna. There are various stories with Gautam Buddha in the same relevance, and we have seen how Jainism and Buddhism have contributed to Indian knowledge systems. Again, if we talk about the mathematicians, the astronomers, Bodhayan, Manava, Apstambha, Pupani, Kakyatyan, Bharat Muni are some of those. Now, in the medicine, as we said, India has a huge ocean from ranging from medical science to surgical science. Then we also had a separate practice which was known as Siddha system in Tamil Nadu, and this was a harmony between mind, body, and spirit. Natya Shastra, given by Bharat Muni, has been again a treatise for dance, music, and drama. Sculptures and paintings have been very popular. Now, even with the specific communities and tribes, we have seen works like metal work, silk weaving, ceramics, in the ancient technologies. For example, in the regions of Shillong in Meghalaya, ceramic technology has been documented historically, which is again indeed a mind-breaking effort that we could see. Then there is another work which is known as Decolonizing the Mind, that has been actually talking about reclaiming the cultural and the intellectual independence as a part of the decolonization process. Now, the IKS actually focuses on gaining national strength, self-reliance, and the concept of Gyan Bhumi, or the land of knowledge, focusing then that across various disciplines from architecture, astronomy, philosophy, literature, languages. IKS has brought in developments in the region. Now, Macaulay's Minute of Education talked about replacing the indigenous knowledge system with Eurocentric models, disconnecting Indians from the intellectual legacy that had been within the nation. And throughout the ages, we have been facing the challenges of the Western education. So, bringing in the idea of IKS and bringing in Upanishads as the cornerstone to identify the ideas of Atma, distinguishing mental and physical states, was really, really important. Advait Vedant, actually, which believes in a monistic philosophy, focuses on the union of individual and Brahma, and talks about world as Maya or material studies. So, Bhatt Mimamsa is again one of such efforts. We have seen concepts in South, efforts of Tulsidas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kabir Das, Sagun, Nirgun, the sect which believes in the form of God, which does not believe in the form of God. The ideas through faith and love have been important. Even the modern reformers like Swami Vivekanand, Sri Aurobindo, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan have been ensuring India's endurance to local traditional knowledge. Now, Radhakrishnan, who rooted the Advait Vedanta, emphasized on unity, truth, and human diversity. Colonization had a profound impact on India's cultural, economic, and social structure. And then we saw a blending of indigenous and colonial influence. However, pre-independence, we have seen the oriental structure had been really, really impactful. And then there were national thinkers even from the British politics. We have Patrick Pearse, John Lawrence Campbell, who called decolonization of politics, and they criticized the colonial mindset. So, colonization of mind, it's not just the real colonization that was seen in the country, but how our mind was captured out of the intellectual legacy that Indians actually hold. Now, there have been philosophical traditions which focuses on sustainability, equality, and resource management. There have been emotional intelligence talks which we do in public administration, and raising the question on why emotional intelligence has been really, really important, has been a part of Indian system through the extensive process of understanding human mind. Even through the philosophies of Jainism, Buddhism, we have been talking about regulating mind, training the mind, and therefore this idea of emotional intelligence is deep rooted within the Indian text. Even the Abhidharma Samyuk classifies mental afflictions, which is virtuous or non-virtuous. There are Buddhist teachings which talk about various mental factors and counteragents. There are various mental factors which have been rooted under 6 different mental afflictions, which lead to affection, anger, pride, ignorance, doubt, and afflictive views. So, Klesha under Buddhism talks about these afflictions which cause the suffering, and then elimination from suffering can be attained. So, this whole idea of emotional intelligence in public administration, if we want to link it to Indian knowledge system, it has been a very, very important aspect that we must not forego. The next is the Guru Shishya Parampara. Now, the Guru, who is the source and the inspirer of the knowledge, every knowledge that has been provided to the Shishya is through the oral means, and this knowledge, skill, and attitude has been going on through generations. So even the Veda learning has been a oral learning. The oral recitation and chanting of the Vedas was important, and this has been depicted even in our epics like Mahabharata and Ramayana. Now, Guru in Hinduism holds a very revered position in the Hindu culture. So he is one who removes the ignorance, leads others onto a spiritual path which helps them attain the moksha. In the early role, the teachings imparted only Vedas or the ideas and grammar or etymology under Veda. However, later on, the roots were deepened and there were gurus who were trying to bless students beyond the Vedas and the knowledge of Vedas. So Yajurved was one such thing which was embodied, and then with the rise of Bhakti movement, there was a great deal of change that was witnessed. Now, if we talk about yoga, Guru Vashishta has been really important, and there have been quotes of Vashishta Ramayana, Arsh Ramayana, which talks about the narratives, the dialogues, and the introspective reflections. So Vashishta and his discipline Ram, the teachings have been really important, which talks about the reality, the mind, and the self, and how the story of Sri Ram under Ramayana has been narrated. So he imparts the knowledge of Nirgun Brahman to Lord Ram, and that has been one of the important ways of enlightening the student. Now, the transformative relation between Ram and Guru Vashishta have been really important because it went beyond only a spiritual mentor to bringing him, guiding him through the obstacles on the path of enlightenment, and his teachings focused on duty, righteousness, and cultivating the inner strength. Now, the essence of the Guru lies in the ideas of faith, wisdom, and path to enlightenment, which we have gone through under the Vashishta Ramayana. Then this whole journey actually focuses on detachment from worldly attachments and laying the foundations for spiritual evolution. So there has been ideas of teaching on life and non-dual awareness even given by Rishi Vashishta. There have been focuses on moral and ethical learning and how Lord Ram awaked to the ideas of self-inquiry, meditation, and the practice of detachment. So this has been the part of Yoga Vashishta, very important. The next is the idea of eco-consciousness and Indian philosophy. So we have seen the recent sharp rises in the extreme weather conditions, where in 2024, first 9 months had extreme weather events leading to 3,000 deaths or more. There have been extreme weather conditions in 93% of the days. Madhya Pradesh experiencing highest number of events. There have been many climate records which have been broken to date, and Indian philosophy talks about a deep heritage where we have a very high interdependence on the life and the ethical duties. So these philosophical foundations become very important when we have adverse weather conditions and the climate nature balance becomes very delicate. So environmental ethics even has been deep rooted into Indian culture, and we have seen in the Ashokan rock edicts in the 3rd century, there were ideas of India's environmental awareness. There were inscriptions which focused on prohibiting the cutting of trees, delinking the idea of deforestation. The idea of pollution was seen with the eyes low, and then there were protection of species and forests that was considered. Even in our philosophy, we have focused on sacred connection with nature. So there has been a sense of planting specific trees and plants to protect and symbolize Lord. So Ashoka tree is linked with the deities of Buddha, Vishnu. Similarly, Peepal tree with Vishnu, Lakshmi, Vandurg, Tulsi tree with Vishnu, Krishna, Lakshmi, Kadam tree with Krishna, Bay tree with Shiv, and so on and so forth. So the idea was, when we are linking tree to gods and goddesses, we are trying to ensure that these trees are preserved in the nature. And philosophically, we are trying to respect and pay reverence to the environment and the nature. Even under Jain and Buddha philosophy, there have been various focuses on life forms and ecological preservations. The ethical dimensions under eco-consciousness were very embedded in the Indian knowledge system, and they have been seen in the Abhigyanam Shakuntalam written by Kalidas, where a character was deeply connected to the nature and treating it as a nurturing mother. Similarly, we focus on the concept of karma in Hinduism, dharma, which talks about doing the things righteously and maintaining a cosmic balance with the nature. Then we have another approach which talks about healthcare as of now, which is the Jan Aushadhi Kendra, established in 2008, talking about affordable quality medicines at Aushadhi Kendra, which is basically the generic form of medicine, not the labeled form of medicines. And through the Pharmaceutical and Medical Devices Bureau of India, the scheme became comprehensive across India, and there have been participating centers and common service centers which have been offering them. Now, even those doing a B Pharma degree, D Pharma degrees, working with NGOs, trusts, public health societies, were open to Jan Aushadhi Kendra. The government granted nearly 2,000 primary credit societies to establish the Kendra across India, and the idea was there would be a point of service center where this facility would be provided. Similarly, we have Sehkar Se Samriddhi Yojana, the art of weaving scheme, where production linked incentive has been provided. PM Mitra Mega Industrial Textile Park scheme has been given a boom, through which the textile development has seen development. There is textile industry and the development of textile industry. As of now, we have seen it coming with environmental sustainability. So even the weavers, they are contributing to circular economy. They are reducing the textile industry's impact on the environment. The discarded and the unused material can now be used. We are also focusing on digital weaving, which is advanced technologies to create woven textiles with real-time monitoring and custom designs. This has brought in a lot of tourism as well. The PM Mitra Mega Textile Park Scheme 2023 serves way good in this slide. Similarly, handloom weaving and boosting the productivity, enabling weavers for handloom production for speed and efficacy has been very important. So textile contribution has been important. India is a major player with key export destinations as United States, European Union, Bangladesh and United Arab Emirates. We have also seen that there are preferential subsidies to countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, duty-free access for Bangladesh, and influx of cheap textile imports from China have been impacting the India's domestic market. So there have been brocaded fabrics, there has been increased research and development which has gone into the same. So we have Banarsi Jangla, which is Jangla is a word derived from jungle, and this is one of the most traditional handloom designs with leaf and flower on a vine pattern. So again has been very important. Similarly, we have Sanskrit Bhasha. Now, language plays a very important role in preservation of culture and its constituents. So, this system of language or bhasha has used extensive commentaries and has been effective in making Vedic knowledge available to us as of now. So, to precise the pronunciation of each word, to ensure the interpretability of each of these words, this language itself has given us a long history about the Vedas and the Upanishads. Now, the term Ved comes from the word Vid, which means to know, and Veda means the knowledge. So, knowledge of fields like Ayurveda, Dhanurved have been important. There are specific languages under which we have referred Vedas as a deity. So, Vedas have been translated even into different languages, and the term Bhasha, which was an Indian version of what we call language, has been very important, and this Bhasha term aligns with the Vedic content more, and there have been developments in Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, where we have our own Sanskrit, which is basically creating an action about the qualities and the details of it. So, Bhasha has been a potential carrier of knowledge, taking the knowledge to the next generations and bringing a cognitive system. So, Bhasha inherently, if we talk about the 6 elements of Vedanta, we have Shiksha, Kalp, Vyakaran, Chand, Jyotish and Nirukt. We have covered a separate separate lecture on this, the six pillars of Veda, which are called as the Vedangs, which appear at the end of the Vedas, and they have been interpreted in various important ways. So under the Kalp, we have Shautra Sutra, Shulba Sutra, Graha Sutra, and Dharma Sutra, the various rules that have to be propounded and brought in. Now, there are various characteristics of description. These talk about the various variants of the language, the various versions of the Bhasha, the Vyakaran, the grammar that has been used. The Panini's grammar has been very, very important, and then they have been printed precisely, which help people make them easy to memorize. So there is a root word and there is a suffix, and then there is a database of the root words, database of the suffix. You can create combinations, and using permutation combination you can create numerous series of words. So this Vyakaran is composed of nearly 4,000 sutra, and due to the sutra formation, the Vyakaran has been very, very important in generating correct words and bringing in Lakshan, which is a target variant. Now, why it has been beneficial is important, because it helps us reach a target variant, which is the Lakshya, and that is a point in space and time. Using that Lakshya, we have a literary content that could be developed in and around that Bhasha. Now, this Bhasha could be a Sanskrit Bhasha, could be a Pali or a Prakrit Bhasha, but the idea is the rule of the Vyakaran or the Lakshan are really important to define that language and bring that language at par. So Sanskrit has evolved over the times under the Indo-European languages and has seen numerous development. Now, even in the sculptures, we say Konark Sun Temple is one of the UNESCO heritage site located in Odisha, and the carvings and the structures of the Lord Surya or the sun god have been very, very important. The first rays of the sun fall on directly onto the temple, and that's again a science that has been developed. The analysis of the temple's spatial layout and the construction on the seashore has been important. Puri, which is a city in Odisha, is one of the historic cities where Mahanadi Delta actually brings in, and this was built during the 12th and the 13th century in Kalinga style to dedicate it to the sun god. The name Konark comes from the sun god, and the construction has been linked to Narsim I, and that has been a gratitude for being cured of leprosy and receiving a son. So this was the idea why Konark temple was developed, and then there were various Maharanas who coined the names for various stones like sandstone, laterite, and the construction had been done. So during the various rulers, how this thing evolved has been important. And if you look onto the map of the Konark temple, you have the Jagmohan, the Surya, the Mahadevi temple, the Century, and the Bhog Mandir. The structure has been given here for a better alignment. Now, the replicas of Konark wheel have even been placed in Rashtrapati Bhavan, as you can see. And this is the real satellite map, which talks about how the name Konark has been derived from the sun god. The demon Arka was killed by the sun god Agni Kona in the east and the west corner of the earth, and therefore this was the place where Konark came into existence. So there have been proposal of numerous developments. So Casuarina trees have been planted in and around to prevent the deterioration from sand-laden winds. There have been neem tree planted to reduce the impact or to distribute the crowd and reduce the stress on the structure. Drinking points have been installed. Some of the trees that you can see in the local language and the English language have been mentioned here. There have been various different structures, scaffoldings, wooden rollers which have been part of the structure, and the temple completion has been really important. The geology has been extreme because it is made of condylite nessus of Archean period, which is ancient rock, and then there have been piles of quaternary deposits of sediments in the region. The architectural description, as we saw, has a massive chariot where the temple features 12 wheels, the 12 pairs of the wheels, and it symbolizes the passage of time and sun's movement across the sky. So each wheel is carved with the different life forms, mythology and nature, and it actually houses the large Surya image inside a black granite, which has been preserved from any environmental impacts. The environmental impacts in the form of destructive winds, heavy rainfall, storms and tides have been affecting the region from centuries. The first record of cyclone was seen as a super cyclone in 1737, which destroyed the coastal areas and the Kosoarian forest in the Konark. Then there was a large scale plantation which happened in 1906. The architectural dwellings were preserved, and then significantly there have been various efforts under the same line. The next is India's contribution to Vedic maths and multiplication. So there have been a science of knowledge or literature which is known as Sutra, which emerged close to the Vedas, and they were called as Vedangs. The 6 pillars of Vedangs we already talked about, and these Sutra belong to Kalpa Sutra. So mathematicians actually started to develop the ideas. So Sulba Sutra is a practice of outlining the measurements, algorithms using the Vedis or the Eltas, and there have been scholars like Aryabhat, Bhaskaracharya, Sridharacharya, Madhava Mahaviracharya, who have been working with contributions in mathematics. So Mahaviracharya was a 9th century Jain mathematician who wrote the work which is known as Ganit Sar Sangrah, and he talked about various mathematical concepts from astrology to mathematics. Then there were scholars who talked about multiplication, the science behind it, and most of these works were written in Sanskrit language. There were the various sutra which belong to the Kalpa Sutra. Sulba Sutra was again an important aspect. Sulba means the rope or the cord, and was an ancient practice through which rope was used to measure the shapes of the altars and the various structures. Now Sulba Sutra provided instruction of building sacrifices altars, and it organized it into six sections or patalas, and these were the geometric propositions, and they have been available. Of these 6, only 4 have been available. Those are by Badhuyan, Apstham, Kakyatan and Manav. Now Badhuyan's Sulba Sutra is one of the largest and the oldest among those. And then from the Vedic we move on to the post-Vedic period. Here we have Sridharacharya, Mahaviracharya, Aryabhat, Bhaskaracharya, who belong to the Vedic period. Then we have a series of development during the post-Vedic period where Ganit Sar Sangrah was one of the pieces which was used, and later on there were topics to salute Lord Mahavir, definitions of technical terms, geometry, arithmetic, which were discussed. And we have one of the quotes which we have given here. Now this arrangement talks about the multiplicand, multiplier, vertically arranged, and then multiplying multiplicand with the multiplier by using 2 methods, the normal approach and the reverse approach, breaking them into 2 parts and bringing the developments thereon. The next is Kavat Sandhi. Now Kavat Sandhi is translated as door injection. Now this technique is performed as either direct or indirect. To begin with, the first digit of the multiplicand is positioned beneath the last digit of the multiplier, and then the process starts by multiplying the first digit of the multiplicand with the multiplier and the remaining steps being processed. So this whole idea of Vedic maths actually talks about doing multiplication and calculation step by step and in a faster way to get the results. We have covered the details on Vedic maths classes in a separate lecture. The next is the Tats. Now Tats is the second method which involves keeping the multiplier and the multiplicand at a fixed position without any movement, and then doing cross multiplications and coming on to the solutions. So we keep the positions of the multiplicand and the multiplier at the same position and then come on to the results. Now through the cross multiplication. The next one is the Khand. Now here multiplier is divided into 2 equal proportions and multiplicand is again multiplied by each of the part and then summated. So rather than multiplying 12 into 84, you do it 10 plus 2 into 84. You multiply 10 by 84 and 2 by 84 and then bring in the results. So that's how this has been explained in a stepwise way. Even the quotations and how this has been done, even under various Jinn temples have been identified. So these methods have been very, very important to apply and bring in the developments. Now the next one is outsourcing to outplacing. So India has emerged as one of the leading destinations for global development of global capacity building centers, with more than half of the world's 1800 centers being located in India. Now, these reforms have come through Spice Plus, Jan Vishwas Act, and the India's competitors like Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, who have a strong global capacity center infrastructure, have to be checked with, and it's a time where we actually bring in projects through which digitization and affordability, transparency and accountability can be brought in. So there have been a simplified pro forma for incorporating company electronically under Spice Plus, which brings in streamlining registration of a company. And then we have Jan Vishwas, the Amendments of Provision Act, which has eased the compliance of decriminalizing the 183 provisions into 42 central provisions which have been brought. So Make in India, Digital India are some of the initiatives that have been helping in the same go and bringing in competence and competition which could match the costs and the prices of the neighboring nations become really, really important, and then only India can turn out into a GCC capital of the world. So those are some of the important aspects that we have covered under this edition. But yes, the main focus was mainly on Vedic mathematics, focusing on the Vedants and the concepts under Veda philosophy, the Indian knowledge system. We'll be covering more on this. Stay tuned for further updates from our side, and of course the handouts for this would be available on exam raise in the current affairs section. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining in. Have a wonderful day.